Welcome to Aloha Growers Presents. I'm Scott,
I'm Jill.
and we are excited to welcome our guest, Christopher Leyva from Falling Doves, to talk about rock and roll, touring, his upcoming trip to Maui, and more. You exude Hollywood rock and roll, man. I
Oh,
dig
thank you.
it.
I'd like to wear it well.
Yes, you do. And you
I,
got hair, dude, that I'm jealous of, man. That is some mean ass hair,
Yeah.
bro.
what I love about our connection is we were doing a job up in Lahaina at Hall A Fine Art Gallery. We were so impressed with you because you really didn't have a sound situation set up for you, and you came out of town. And I believe you had a cajon player
Yep, I believe so.
and a bassist with you.
Yeah.
And we dug your music, and then we saw, I don't know, like a year later you were playing somewhere else on island, so you have like a lot of connections to this island.
Well, it's strange though that the you know how there you learned this lesson in New York City, right? In Mexico City as well. As they say, there's about five different Mauis, right? There's five Mauis. There's the Maui the tourists see when they arrive. There's the Maui the locals have. There's the Maui that each area has, like the
West
my
Side.
friends up everybody, and they some of them know each other, right? And occasionally what I find is everybody finally gets together at the Mac, at the Four Seasons during fireworks, at Shep Gordon's house. But the list gets smaller, and then everybody goes, "Oh, why are you here? Oh, okay, well, I guess you're okay." And it's this betting system where some people say you're okay, and then you're okay, and you know what? The doorways of Maui open up tenfold, um, for everyone. And it's funny that you mentioned that story, because the reason why we performed that show the very first time, it's a lot more interesting than people know. It's funny because you just see somebody there, and what are they doing there, right? We flew into Maui specifically to meet Ruby Mazer, because we were trying to get Shep Gordon to manage us, right? This was around the pandemic, and I wrote him these letters. He sent me his number. We had a chat on the phone, and he said, you need a good logo. If you look, Alice Cooper needs a good logo. So, I've always been this kid, since growing up. Well, let's go find the best logo guy that we could find, right? Right? That's how that goes. So we were coming back from a tour from Australia, and I told the guys, we have a layover in Honolulu. Why don't we hop over to Maui, and we go find this guy that I heard he has this gallery. I keep calling the gallery, and they said he was going to be there, and this and this and that. And so we showed up to meet Ruby Mazer. We went in there to convince this man to make us a logo. We had this dinner. $25,000 is what the man wanted for a logo.
Oh, wow.
I go, we didn't have that budget. And so I go, well, tell you what, let's do this. And then I go, can you just at least, write your little tongue here. So he drew this for me on my arm. And I went and tattooed it across the street. And came right back, and he goes, "You're fucking crazy." That's what he goes. He's like, "You're crazy." He's like, "I like that." He talks. "Why don't you play? Are you still in town? This time, play my show. I got this." I go, "Yeah, when's that?" "Oh, tomorrow." I go, "Tomorrow?" I go on. We'll take. So we extended our trip, right? We extended our trip, and we had this. It's funny, what? So they got this little necklace here. It's been a good luck charm for me. So I went into that same day before meeting a Ruby. It's funny how I was only there, you gotta understand, 4 days. This all happened within a 4 day time span. I went in there that day. I bought this necklace at the Shops of Wailea at Jim and Bootsy's gallery. At that point, it was the Enchantress Gallery, and I bought this necklace. And the husband, which was a very eccentric guy, which is Jim, was playing that show. "My wife needs to meet you. She's gonna love you, man." Calls her on the FaceTime. I was having dinner with them that night after seeing, Ruby. And then I met, literally, you know, we had this show we had to do there. And a friend of mine was trying to find me a drummer to play with me for this thing. You know, just like an acoustic percussionist. And everybody wanted like $300. We were doing this show for free. So I also can't pay out, you know. And his niece was there. And she did percussion. He goes, dude, she can play with you tomorrow. I go, well, fuck, you know, we'll pay her money. We'll pay her money. She can stay with us and she can play for us. It's going to be cheaper than paying one of these dudes that one's $300, you know, for like a 30-40 minute set. So yeah, she stayed in there, and you know, her story, the bass player that was on tour that day got a little sick. So he can't tour international anymore because the plane rides mess him up because he's got gout. So she took over first merch duties. She went on tour with us eventually, and now she's the bass player of the band.
Right.
Right on.
It's a great story.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
So that's a Maui story. If I didn't have it any shorter, so you know,
That's cool.
I can count the different blessings I've received from that city, and they've always been accidental or thrown in. That this is the first time anything's been planned, which is what I'm doing here with Scott. Every other time I've just been thrown in the line of fire, and that show, same thing. The show
Right.
with you guys, I show up, and then I asked Ruby, I go, hey Ruby, where am I gonna sit up? Right in the back there, kid. I gotta do an interview. I'll be right
Yeah,
back.
see you later.
Figure it out.
Good luck.
Figure it out. I go, okay. Where am I sitting? I guess this looks pretty, and I set up with the backdrop, and now we're all set up, and there's no PA system.
Right. That was a topic
Yeah.
of conversation that afternoon.
Listen, I'm all down for busking and all that, you know,
Right.
but I would have
Were
thought
you
they
the
wanted to
person
do a
actually
little.
that brought that up when we found out there was music?
I'm like, yeah, you got to get a PA system. They're like, well,
I understand. For me, who do I call? I don't know anybody here.
right.
You know,
You
up
do
in
now.
LA, England, it doesn't matter. I've had PAs break down and somebody saves
Right.
the day. Here,
Right.
I don't know anybody, and the one guy I called wanted $1,000.
Yeah, and that's
which
corporate rates.
we are in Lahaina, so I
Right.
know there's like a little upper on that. But it was definitely, I go, well, we're not really getting paid. No, this is gonna cost me. I go, you know, and I couldn't talk to Ruby because he was doing his interviews. He was in full show mode. So talk to somebody else. They got it. I go, wow, okay. And you know, they came through, they brought the PA and the Hollies, they're beautiful couple. And that sax player from Pink Floyd there was that day.
Tell us a little bit about your touring, you know, who you've toured with, where you've been.
You know, I began as an independent artist playing all the little dive bars and all this and all that. Eventually I became a roadie for a lot of big bands. And being a roadie for a lot of big bands, you'd be surprised the amount of musicians, especially in the area that I grew up in, which was like the grunge era, that were just into getting drunk, hooking up with chicks, and getting to the gig. That's it. There's nothing else in their head. Maybe writing some cool songs and recording some cool stuff. The real smart ones were really good in the studio, but that was the extent. And so me being a roadie, I would always be thrown into these crazy situations with these guys where on the road I had to wear different hats. I had to be an agent some days. I had to be the delivery guy, the coffee guy, even to the word of the pimp, you know, little in these situations. I had to be like, hey dude, you know, like the chick there and there, give her the backstage pass, that type of thing, you know. And there you go, okay, here you go, you know. And that's a different show, which is a really good show. We'll talk about that some other time, which was a lot of fun. But on the highlight, I would meet A&R guys and label guys and all these guys, and they go, hey, you know, you're a little different than the rest of these guys. Come up to the office, you know, next week. And I was just palling around with A&R guys, lawyers, attorneys, boring people to the world. But I just go to the office, little rock guy just sitting there, helping him with paperwork. And that's how I learned the how to be a booking agent, artist relations guy, an assistant, marketing, advertising, PR. And I mean,
Everything.
my youth was spent hanging out at the marketing offices at Live Nation and House of Blues, you know? So all that stuff, you know, I learned to make rock posters because the poster artist broke his arm that day. And so he was literally sitting with me the whole month I worked for him. And he'd tell me, okay, click this, click that, click this, click that, and learn graphic design through him. And eventually I took his job.
Right. You're creative.
But
It's
but
awesome.
so that realm always interested me. And eventually we worked with indie labels and same ball game. They always told us the same game. Oh, this can't be done, this can't be done, this can't be done. Last week, my mom got together with my dad and they haven't seen each other for years. And she said to my dad, one thing about your son I have to say, because you never hear things from your parents. It's just they never say that. And she told, your son is the one human being I know in this world that the word no doesn't exist for, that can make anything happen. And that I was so touched by her saying that, you heard from your parents, your maker, you go, wow, that's so heavy. But when you really think about it, that's been my mantra with everything I do. That, like, no, of course there's a way. And if there, and so that's the way that's kind of gone. And every time the labels said no, it gave me more fire to go and pull harder. The reason why we ended up in England, and I'm gonna tell you that story. There's a club here in San Diego called the Belly Up,
Right.
rock and roll club. We played all these places. We played the Belly Up. We had we had done our first little semi tour. We came back home, and I called the Belly Up asking for just for a night, a fucking Tuesday. Sorry to cuss, but a Tuesday or Wednesday just to do a concert, and they wouldn't give it to me. I go, why is that? We have the fan base. We've sold out your place again, and the guy was just being terrible, And I told the band, you know what? We're gonna go after the biggest club in the world. And I'm going to prove to you guys that there's no problem wrong with the band as these people. So I call up the Cavern in Liverpool. No problem. So we had, and it's the most famous club in the world.
Amazing.
And nobody can just go in there and play there. The bands, when we first arrived in Liverpool, the bands were not very nice to us. They were very jealousy, very just like, why do you get all this cool stuff? You're like, you just got here. And that's been our thing anywhere we've been in the planet. But it's obviously because you're the new kid in town, because they don't know you, because you're this exotic creature that's coming in here. So people are excited. They gave us that. And after that, after the Cavern, to be honest with you, the sky was the limit, because that emblem that we wear as a Cavern Club rock band, because we are a Cavern band, endorsed by the Cavern, that opened the doorway to the world to us. If we can't come in through the Falling Doves, you come in through the Cavern.
It's like winning a Grammy.
It really is.
And just even whatever that means, and having that, I have a Grammy, but I've played here. It opens doors.
It really does, because nobody can just walk in there. Nobody can just walk in there and book. You know what's funny? And we go into that story. One of those bands that was like the biggest band at the Belly Up. I'm playing at the Cavern last year. And the guy comes up and I hear a heckler on the stage. Oh, this, and some of that heckling was personal. I was like, I know this. And then at the end of the show, I go back down there. How the fuck did you get in here? I've been trying to get in here for 20 years. I go, that's just the difference between the music, isn't it? That's all I said to the guy and took off. You know what I mean? A San Diego band, So that's just, it's part of the gig, and between you and me, the biggest lesson that I've learned is be nice to people. Just be nice. Just be nice. That's all. It's the easiest thing to do, but it seems to be the hardest thing for people to do in the world. When I go to the schools to talk to the students, the young guys that are getting to the industry, there's so many doors in there to knock on. Why be so obsessive? And some of these people, I lost 8 good years to the San Diego music community because I was so obsessed with playing the places here. If I would have just taken off to England, in 2002, it'd be a different ballgame. One lesson I remember from the band that I toured with, that one band, right? They used to always go, and you know who still does that? So I was talking, Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick, right? So we played a show with him, and he goes, I always love it. These older guys, they tell you, let me tell you something about how we do this, and in New York, it's like, he's from, I think he's from Chicago. He still has that twang. Let me tell you. So you want to make sure you do this. You know, this always worked for us. In every city, you make a list of all your friends and family in every city that you go. Keep that list going. Never lose that list. Never stop saying that. And he was right. He's like, you email everybody so you have lists for every place you've ever played, not just through email, like direct text. Hey, I'm coming to town. It'd be nice to see you. Come by.
Right.
As you graduate, that list becomes your VIP list. So they know that when you have shows, they're already on the list. They don't even need to think about it. And that's what Cheap Trick does for their fans. So every single time we've come to either on our way to Japan or on our way to Australia, we always would stop by Honolulu to tour and stuff. And Honolulu is dirtier, grittier. It's a different thing. But it's cool. It's got its own highlights, right? But you don't really get to chill. Like, you can't really rest. So we would come to Maui, you know, and just sleep. And we'd play all these little divey places just to get to know people, community, build friendships, jam with different players. And they always were very lovely, you know, out there in Paia, down at the Triangle, all these different, we played farms, for God's sakes, in that little, because, you know, after we did that Ruby Macer thing, we're like, well, let's play a bunch of these different places. And we just played all these little farms and barbecue places all the way down to Hana. And it was lovely, you know, lots of community came and saw it. But it's a different experience. You're playing to entertain, to have a good time. It's not about how cool you look there,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But eventually we ended up talking to some people. And they, again, you know, these people tell you stories and they go, you know, you need to play. He's like, when you come here, you know, you want to play at, this is Fleetwood's. It's no longer there.
Right.
You need to play Fleetwood's. He's like, we used to have Hard Rock. That's not here anymore.
Yeah.
Then we have the Playhouse. He's like, but if you really want to kind of, for you guys, he's like, I really recommend you guys go to the Mulligans. He's like,
Yeah.
it makes sense. He's like, and then from there, hop over to Fleetwood's and just do that back and forth and eventually end up at the mat. You know, that's what he said. The little game plan this guy gave us, his fantasy game plan. So eventually we met Timpan Noor. We went out to see them play. They hosted us at another gallery event that they did. Had a great time meeting them. And through friends and connections, we, you know, poured into the Mulligans and met, you know, Scott, who's very well, you know, very, very smart guy, very equal-minded about marketing and promoting, and just as excited about making something happen.
We're excited to have you. This is going to be fun. Considering, I mean, the last time though, you handled the sounds like a champ though. You didn't even sweat and you were like, no problem, no problem. Everything that was thrown at you that was going wrong, you were like, no problem.
You had the
like,
wonkiest setup, bro, and
I know.
no disappointment. You were full of aloha. You were like happy to be there. It's gonna work.
and you
That's just that shitty speaker's just gonna add some distortion maybe to the guitar. Who knows? You know.
But that's the thing, is you got to be flexible, man, because you know, we showed up to a really big gig in Amsterdam, and there was no drum kit. No drum kit, and it's 8 p.m. Where are you gonna find a drum kit at 8 p.m.? You know, we just landed, and my drummer's sweating it. I go, all right, just enough. Everybody, just go, leave, just go outside. Go outside. We're not on for another hour and a half. I'll figure it out. Go. And I'm walking around with the guy, and I'm sorry, you know, and I go, I'm sorry, it's not going to cover it. I go, you kind of screwed us here, man. I go, you don't even have a percussion instrument. I go, and then I'm just looking at this whole ceiling full of suitcases that he had up there, like these old suitcases from the 40s. You know, they used to be made of wood. I go, tell you what. I go, do you have a saw? Grab one of those suitcases, sewed a hole through it.
Mic it
I
up.
went up. Locally, we had a kick pedal and a snare, so we kicked that, we mic'd that up. We grabbed mic stands, put drumsticks in them, created cymbal stands. I told the drummer, I go, that's the best I can do, dude. Make it work. Mic'd it really good, and it sounded like a full kit.
You know what? It
Yeah.
adds to the experience of the show.
yeah.
Oh no,
The
people
crowd
showed
was
up.
probably like, we caught this band. Their drum kit, these guys, they didn't even have enough money to buy a kit. They were playing on their suitcases, man.
So adds
I was
character.
gonna go with more
Okay.
experimental, but go on.
Yeah, it adds character. You know, we had a show
This is
with
good.
with the band, a Grateful Dead cover band. They're awesome here.
Scott Guberman, who's Phil Lesh's keyboard player, came
Yeah.
out with a couple guys and jammed with our friend Troll, who's like our Jerry Garcia here.
And like on their second set, they just done like, I don't know, 2 songs, and the power goes out.
Good 40 minutes left in the show.
Now the drummer just kept going. He did like a 25, 30
Everybody
minute drum
just jumped
circle.
on the drums, and it was
and people had their phones out giving them light, and it was like this big like circle of dancing. I mean, it was awesome.
It upped the energy.
Think about it, back in the day when music really originated, it was
Right.
just drums and dance.
Right.
There was no, if they were lucky, they had something with a string to pluck on, but a lot of it was just percussion,
Right.
Right.
drum
Right.
circles. So you guys really brought it to a primal thing, which is instinctively in every human being. We're born, we have the element of percussion in us. We're looking for the beats. We're looking for the beats. So it's awesome. I wish I would have been there. Now I feel
Yeah.
jealous.
It was a good one.
But that's the choice, I think, when you're out there. You travel, you're there to perform. You don't want to disappoint people.
Right.
So you want to create something. You want to make something work. Whenever we're at the Cavern, we always pull locally. I watch all the bands on Facebook and Instagram, and one issue will catch my eye. So next year when we go, I'll go, hey, saw you on Instagram. We love the band. Come play at the Cavern with us. Open, and it blows their mind. And for me, it gives me the same feeling the first time we played there. I mean, we were like, so it just did the world to us, and then they get to play these rooms that they never would be able to.
Right. How often
And
do you
so
play there?
we're there every year.
Every
Sometimes
year.
we play
Very
4
cool.
times a year.
Wow.
I mean, half the time before the pandemic, I was living there half the year in Liverpool and half the year
Right.
here in
Right.
LA. So I went back and forth.
So you're in LA
fan
now.
base
You're
thing.
based in LA now.
For no, right now we're in an interesting period. So I'm doing some family stuff here, and this is the first year where I'm not touring nonstop like usually. Usually every month is in a different country. This year,
Right.
we had to take the first 6 months off to help family with some issues that they're going through.
Yeah,
So I'm out here just consolidating paperwork, legal stuff,
yeah.
getting that stuff in order so I
Yeah.
can go back to England.
And you said you've been to Japan, right?
Yeah. We were in the Cavern, and we're sitting there with the band, and we go back to Vegas, and we had a really good residency out there. We were getting paid really well, getting really fat, making really good money because they give you these big buffets every night, living a really great lifestyle, billboards everywhere. But then we're like, the manager wanted to keep us there. He's like, "Oh, I want you guys, we're gonna get you another residency, this and that, and you're gonna play more." I go, "Dude, I don't think I want that. I don't think I'm there yet. Like maybe in my 50s we can talk about that again." I go,
Right.
"It's so much to the world,
Right.
And the band was a little burnt out because that was the thing about these residencies. We did a little bit of our stuff, but we had to fill in the stuff with Beatles stuff and a bunch of stuff after the Cavern. So now we were branded with this Beatle-y thing. We're like, and the manager of the Cavern, told us, we're gonna do your own thing. You can no longer play with the Beatle bands because you don't want to do that. You guys are your own band. And so he separated us between Beatle Week now, but we played all the Beatle festivals on the planet, which is amazing. There's like 2 or 3 we've missed. And so, we have that fan base and we love it. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're like, well, we need something else, man. And we went to Japan and we went out there again, playing coffee shops. We've never been this thing like too humble to fucking play anything. And remember these guys would not book us. The Japanese were like, "Why are you playing this place where you guys play big halls? Why are you doing this?" I don't understand it. And so we booked a bunch of little restaurants. They brought us in there. We had a great time. We're on top of the tables playing for because remember we were in Vegas and we were playing dinner shows, so we were used to that.
Right.
And you master that art, and it's a different planet.
Right.
The dinner shows. It's got to be part comedy, part entertainment, interaction, kind of like a comedy show, and then performance, and storytelling. And so when we did that in Japan, this other promoter showed up to the third show. He's like, "Why are you guys here?" Because we didn't know anybody here. He's like, "We're gonna get you guys a bunch more shows," and then we graduated to venues in that same tour, and we stayed an extra 2 weeks and played a bunch of venues, and we've been going there every year. So this will be, I think, our 5th tour. So that's Japan, and I love Japan because every time we go a little further into areas we've never been to, and we go to a lot of the rural areas, that nobody ever goes to, and that's the magic, man. Those people, it's like watching Jesus and Johnny Depp walk into a bar together. People are like, "What?" Blows their mind, and they're very dedicated people.
Okay, so I know you got a million stories about all the people you've played with, but Corey Feldman.
Oh, come on, man.
What's the story there, man?
Okay. All right. So Whiskey A Go Go. Okay, here we go. Whiskey A Go Go. There was an earthquake in Mexico, and they were doing a tribute for Mexico. And since I'm like, an LA guy, but Mexican, but no, but you're not like LA Mexican. You're like real Mexican, man. Can you play this, this event and this and this and that? I go, yeah. I go, but you need some real star power in there to bring in. And I gave him some names and this and this and that. I go, can you get Corey Feldman? I go, I know somebody that knows him. I go, I can reach out to my friend. I go, I'll see. I go, what's the connection there with that? Why do you want him? They're like, we just think it'd be so cool, man. You got this anniversary of the film, and I go, I just don't know what he has to do with Mexico,
Right.
or any of this. But and they kept demanding stuff to the point that I started now just feeling like I was working for them,
Yeah.
But that always gets to a certain level with me, and then I turn it around, and then I have fun with people, which is not a thing to do.
Right.
But I'll explain what happens. So we get this thing, and my friend's like, "Oh, they're just using you to get to your friends and stuff." I go, "Yeah." I go, "Trust me." I go, "We're gonna have fun." So now, we got Corey to fucking do this. By the way, at this point, I have never talked to Corey in my life, right? But now I was his rep, So then the girl would call, and she's like, "Have you talked to Corey?" I go, "Yeah, no." He says, "This needs to be like this for the event, and he wants a mariachi band for this event, or he's not going to play." Well, what do you mean a mariachi? I don't know. I go, "I'll get you the numbers. They need to be there, and that's what we need. We need a mariachi band for this because it's a Mexico thing, And she goes, "Oh, okay." And my friend's just like, "Dude, come on, dude. Like, go. I go. They got money. If they're only paying me fucking $1,000, they're giving him $5. I go, we're gonna make the show go good, And it's
right.
So I continue with this. Oh, Corey needs this in the dressing room, and all the dressing rooms need to have this because Corey says it needs to be equal with everybody.
That's
All the dressing
awesome.
room,
So you
food,
got to deal with a
this,
writer,
that.
a hospitality writer for Corey Feldman. Oh boy.
Oh no, it gets better. So then we get to the day of, and the chick's already sweating it, but everything worked out. Media's coming. We've got the event going, and I go, Corey wants to arrive in a horse on the stage, and we need to figure out how this is going to happen, or he's not going to play. He goes, "Well, what do you mean a horse?" I go, "You got to figure that out." But that's the thing that goes on in LA all the time.
Right.
I'll tell you another story with Ryan Adams and a piano later. But he goes, "Oh no, that's what he wants. He wants this, or it's just not gonna happen." So now they're calling around everywhere to try to get a horse or Corey to go up. And then I get a call from Corey. He's like, Corey's girlfriend at the time was the manager. She's like, "Do you know anything about a horse?" I go, "What are you talking about?" "Oh, Corey got a weird call about that he needed a horse for this event, and he's afraid of horses." I go, That's not gonna fly. That's not gonna fly if I keep pushing on this horse thing, Because they were trying to figure out to get this permit for safety for the horse to be able to go up on the stage.
Right.
I was just having a ball with this, So we go up on there. I get the mariachi to learn some of my songs, mariachi style, and we open the show with the mariachi in the background. and it was great. It was great, for a cool performance.
Sounds awesome.
And then we backed up Corey as his band for that night.
So tell us a little bit about your rock and roll. Are you going to be playing a lot of originals? What you bringing to the Mulligans Music Box?
I'm bringing the real Falling Doves, the actual entity.
Gotcha.
Last time it was the Maui Doves. I always start with, I think playing in Vegas, playing in Hamburg, really, and Norway really taught us to read the rooms, right? Because when you're in Germany, even Norway and some of those areas, they don't really speak English. So how do you know if they like it?
Right.
Because Germans, you're not going to get them going, oh, no, that's not going to happen. They just sit there stiff and they just watch, But if you can get those faces to actually interact or be a part of the stuff, because a lot of people go, why do you go up to people with your guitar in their face? I go, because in Germany, we got so frustrated that these people just sit there. I go, well, I'm going to go and play on his face, see if we can get him to do something, So we go up to people, and that's what, and it wasn't just me, it would be all of us. The guitarist, me, go up to people, and then we get them turned on. And they start getting really excited and drinking and going crazy. And so that in that element, we create a set list, but we allow room for, based on how the crowd is, what the vibe is. If it's a lot of we call them the pepperheads. If it's a lot of the pepperheads, we start bringing in some of the 60s, 70s covers that will pull them. If there's a lot of ladies, we'll throw in songs that we know girls like, and sometimes, Katie sings too in the band, so sometimes, she'll be singing 4 songs when originally she only had 1. So we do have a set list of originals, mostly our singles, with a little bit of storytelling, but we're allowing room for improvisation.
We're super excited to have you at the Mulligans Music Box.
April 19th.
Well, it's an honor to be here with my new Maui Ohana and my extended that keeps growing year after year. So it's always an honor to meet all the different characters and shakers and movers of Maui.
Well, thank you again. Thanks for everybody who tuned in. Aloha.